In this tutorial, we'll teach you how to work with tables to keep your information organized. The resumes used in this tutorial can be found at the following links. This resume template is designed using a single table with multiple rows and columns. At first glance, it may not seem like a table has been used, because the only borders we see are these two. But with tables, you can make the borders invisible. And for design purposes, you can make them visible by clicking this View Grid Lines. It's found under the Table Tools Layout tab. So once I click View Grid Lines, you can see a light gray border wherever there is a cell border. Now these two are a darker shade of gray because they have been designed to be visible. This is why if you turn grid lines off again, those are the only two borders visible. In this resume, the borders have been designed to be shown, so even without the View Grid Lines on, you see the borders. I'll show you how to use some of the tools in this Layout tab to organize your content better within tables. In this table, you notice these two rows here have 4 columns, while this row here has only 2 columns. These headings, as well as the school title here, have only 1 column. With tables, you can merge and split cells as necessary, depending on your content. For example, I could take this cell here, and if I click on Split Cells, I can choose the number of columns I want and the number of rows I want, and it will split that cell into the specified number of columns and rows. If I click OK, I have 2 columns and 1 row. And I could do the same with this one. And I have 2 columns and 1 row. Now, if you have to merge these again to make it look like before, you can select these 2 columns and click on Merge Cells, and that will merge them. All content in this resume is currently in one table. But maybe you want to have the objective, name, and contact information in a separate table. You could split the table in 2. Just click here in the school title, and then click Split Table. You now have 2 tables. Let's undo that. The other useful tool to organize your content is this Distribute Rows and Distribute Columns. Notice that these 4 columns are equally spaced, but these 3 columns are not. This first column is slightly smaller, and this middle column is the biggest. If we want them equal width, then we could just select these and click on Distribute Columns, and it makes them all an equal width. And you could also just apply it to 2 columns out of the 3. So we could make this one really small, and if you want these 2 to be equally spaced, we can select just those 2 and click on Distribute Columns, and it makes just these 2 cells equally spaced. We could do the same with the rows. So we see these 3 rows are different heights, and if we click on Distribute Rows, it makes them all an equal height. Let me just undo that. You can also organize the alignment of content within the cell. There is a horizontal alignment and a vertical alignment. The vertical is listed first. So align top left means that it's aligned top vertically and left horizontally. And likewise, you have top center and top right center left, center, and center right, as well as bottom left, bottom center, and bottom right. These headings are currently top left. If you make them top center, it aligns them to the top vertically and center horizontally. Let's switch it back. Now, the nice thing about Table is that you can change the direction of the text very easily. I'm just going to show this to you for demonstration purposes, but it may not make sense in this particular resume. But we can change the text direction to top to bottom, bottom to top, or the default left to right. We could also modify the cell margins. If you click on cell margins, currently the top and bottom have a margin of 0.15 inches, and the left and right have a margin of 0.12 inches. Let's change them all to 0.3 inches. Now you notice all the cells in the table have a bigger margin all around. So if you want to increase the white space within the cell, then that's one way you could do it. Now, if you want to modify the width of certain cells, I'll just show you. In this cell, if I move this border, you notice even in these two rows, the border moves. That could help in certain cases where you want all the borders to be in the same location. But if for some reason you need to just move this border, you can select these cells in that row, and now when you move this border, it only moves the border in that row. Maybe if we had some really long text here and you wanted it to stay in one line, if it was here, it would wrap in the second line. If you just wanted to change this one so that it stays in one line, you could just move it until it is in one line and then leave it like that. You can also change the background color of the cells. So in this case, if I want to change the background color of the name cell, then I can go to Design, and under Shading, I can choose this other color. It's as easy as that. You can also customize the borders. So if you want to use some fixed styles, you can use the Border Styles menu to choose one. Or if you want more fine-grained control, you can click on Borders here and go down to Borders and Shading. And here you can change the style of the border, the color, the width, and then apply it to all the different borders in a cell. So the top, the middle, bottom, left, and right. You can also choose to apply it to just the cell that you're in, or the whole table. So if you want to apply it to the whole table, let's just change the color to a blue, and let's increase the width just for visibility and demonstration purposes. Let's make it 1.5 point. Now, when you change the border styles, you have to reapply the border. So you have to remove all of them by selecting None. And then we can click All to apply all the borders. You can also select individual borders. So if I turn this off, it turns off the top border, and then I can turn on the top border again. So let's apply it to the table and click OK. And now the whole table has a blue border. So these are different ways to use tables to organize your content. Tables are very flexible. So in most cases, you can find a simple way to display your content in a pleasing manner and one that's easy to read. Thank you.